Hello guys, we are back with another episode of the 0 to 6 figure series. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a series in which I showcase my portfolio. So you can see it on screen right now. Currently we are at 27,000. Let's give it a refresh. It went down a little bit. $27,854. And we've made a couple of changes, slight changes in the portfolio. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the recent price action with Bitcoin hitting $50,000. We're also going to talk about some of the sectors of crypto that I think are worth allocating to, and some of the upcoming DePin coins that I'm personally looking at. So yeah, a bunch of things to get into in today's episode. One thing that I want you guys to do is comment a little bit more. I want you to tell me your thoughts, tell me what I'm doing right or wrong. I'd really love to interact a little bit more with you guys, so please do that. Give this video a like whilst you're at it as well. So what have I changed? Well, you may have noticed that there's no more Arbitrum in the portfolio. I have actually sold that up and I basically bought Say with it. A number of reasons. I think Say from a tech perspective is fantastic. They also have, I'm also anticipating Say version 2, and that is where Say will have a parallel EVM that is going to be the first of its kind, and I'm pretty excited for that. Now, I've done a deep dive on Say, so you can go and watch that. I'll leave a link to it in the description below if I remember. So you can go and watch that and you can kind of get a good understanding of why I potentially do like Say. I think the ecosystem is still very... how do I put it? Immature. It's quite immature. So I think a lot of work needs to continue on there, but I think there is still pretty big upside there, especially when you consider Say being only 2 billion market cap, and you compare that to something like Solana, which is like 50 billion. Don't get me wrong, Solana is fantastic too. Otherwise, I think generally things are the same. If we have a look at the portfolio here, there's 14 coins in the portfolio, including USDC and ETH. Redacted has now become a top 3 position. I'm wearing my Redacted merch today as well, which is great. Butterfly has done really well in recent times. I am staking it as well, so I'm kind of always increasing my position, which is fantastic too. Otherwise, I still have a stack of USDC to spend. I know that this is like 10% of the portfolio, and I probably should have spent it maybe 3-4 months ago when I had this as well, and it would have been double or triple by now. But never mind, it's okay. And as we go through this video, we'll talk about some of the coins that I think are coming out, and so I probably will be spending all of this on some of them. So otherwise, not much has changed. I think the rest of the portfolio is pretty much the same. So look at the price of Bitcoin. It basically touched $50,000, and I think as long as we're pretty much above that resistance area, just around 48, I think things should be okay. And so, look, whether we go up or down, it doesn't bother me. I think in the long run, look, I'm expecting prices to be somewhat above this brown or purple maroon line, basically. I want price to be above there, and I know that if price goes above there, all of these will be significantly higher than where we are today. Now, one of my friends, Poopman DeFi, he actually wrote a tweet the other day talking about the 6 narratives that he thinks is likely to make it. And to be honest, I have to really agree with many of these. DePin for sure, we've talked about that many times on the channel. In fact, a lot of the recent videos that I've done are around DePin. The Bitcoin ecosystem, especially with the likes of the Bitcoin layer 2s and Bitcoin ordinals and things like that, those have been really heating up. Solana, of course, I think that ecosystem is always going to be thriving now, and that kind of goes hand in hand with DePin, and we do have some exposure in our portfolio already to that. AI services and decentralized AI networks, to be honest, I think this is one sector that I'm probably a little bit underexposed to. I think part of the reason is there's just so much vaporware out there. And other than, the big ones like BitTensor, it's really hard for me to really build conviction in some of these lower market cap AI coins. Maybe I should just go with the winners. I think that's proven to be a winning strategy time and time again, and you can see that with Tau for sure. The modular ecosystem, definitely something that I'm underexposed to. I completely messed up my Celestia holdings, and now there's Dimension that's arrived, and there's a whole load of things going on in the modular stack at the moment, and there's ZK as well, and we'll see plenty of ZK coins coming out when some of these ZK L2s drop their tokens, like ZK Sync and co. So yeah, I really agree with Poopman, and I think this is like some of the areas that I am personally looking to add more to rather than DeFi. And you can see my portfolio is still very DeFi heavy, although I have kind of concentrated my DeFi bets into, things that I think will really, really do well. And I think one of them is all around like Ethereum staking and restaking and things like that. And therefore, my ETH is an eigenlayer. I think Butterfly is my basically beta bet on like ETH LSTs as well. Frax, of course, have their ETH LST. But also they are building like a layer 2 and stuff like that. Gearbox is probably a little bit different, and I think that's pretty much it when it comes to DeFi. Everything else is kind of less DeFi and more infra or NFTs or whatever. So yeah, I think like that's something that I have been thinking about. You know, I've always been someone who loves DeFi, and I still think DeFi is the best. But I think when it comes to investment thesis and narratives, I think DeFi is certainly nowhere to be seen at the moment. Perhaps that will change, and perhaps DeFi will catch a bid, which I would be very, very happy to see. But I think for now, like, I think these are certainly some of the sectors that I think deserve more attention. Now, I did actually talk about this in kind of building a crypto portfolio for 2024. So if you haven't read this one, go and give it a read. Unfortunately, this one is a paid article, but I did basically talk about some of the different ecosystems around and kind of how I'm allocating. So you can have a look there. But I'll talk about some of the elements in this video as well. Recently, I did actually also write this issue about DePin, just basically covering the DePin space and also really covering a lot of the different projects that are around at the moment. Now, you can split the DePin category into basically physical resource networks and basically and digital resource networks. So resource and physical. The physical ones I'm less keen on. So these are often things like geospatial, wireless networks, energy networks, carbon credits, IoT things. I mean, you could argue like, look, things like Helium have done really well, Hivemapper has done really well, but for me, like, there's something about it that just doesn't feel too right, especially when it comes to the actual token design. I think projects are fantastic, but when it comes to tokenomics, I'm a little bit less keen. I think when it comes to resource networks, I'm way more interested, and we do already have exposure. We have a little bit of Shadow, which is a storage network on Solana. So we're kind of tapping into DePin and Solana there. I mean, you could argue, look, Filecoin and Arweave are also good options as well, but I kind of went for the more higher risk, higher reward altcoin there. But then like the compute network also has performed really well, especially like Render and Akash. One of the concerns that I have is that this is like the compute section, or especially the general purpose compute, is a little bit competitive, but I think, look, there's some really top projects building in this space, and that's certainly one area where I will be allocating, probably with some of the newer tokens rather than the older ones. And then I think the machine learning AI section of the DePin space is one that I think you definitely should not be fading in. BitTensor is absolutely killing it right now, and so yeah, I think that just goes to show, like, if that can get to billions of dollars of market cap, what can some of the others do? So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to cover in this part of the video. Let's finally talk about some of the DePin projects that I think are worth looking into that don't have a token just yet. Now, first one is called Jensen. This is basically a machine learning layer 1 blockchain. No token just yet. I don't even think they've got a proper mainnet out just yet. So this is probably pretty early, but massive hype, massive backing. I think this one will be a massive project when the token does come out. And when I say massive, I'm talking about 500 million to $1 billion market cap kind of thing, something to really compete with BitTensor. So yeah, I really think you should kind of keep an eye on Jensen. Grass, I will have a deep dive. I've already recorded it. I did actually write a thread on Twitter about Grass, but yeah, you know that I like Grass, and I think this one will also be a great one. This is a kind of a data AI play, you could say. Also DePin, of course, mostly DePin. Koi, which I recently did a deep dive on, so yeah, definitely go and give that one a watch. But this is a compute network as well, which I think is a really interesting one. And then there's Peak as well, which is going to be a layer one specifically for DePin. So those are like the four kind of projects that I'm looking at. All four of them tokenless. All four of them hopefully will have tokens in the not so distant future. And I think depending on the tokenomics, of course, that is a really big factor. I will decide which ones I will be buying, but I think certainly from some of them, they look particularly interesting to me. Depends on valuation, of course, as well, but I think that would certainly help boost up my DePin AI exposure when it comes to my portfolio. That will give me significant DePin and probably Solana and AI exposure. Modular, I don't have exposure at the moment, but I'm not really planning to at the moment, not with these prices. But we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of exciting things happening right now, and it's really hard to kind of dip your toes in everything just because there's just so many different categories of crypto now, and you kind of really have to concentrate your bets, concentrate them, have a little bit of diversification. I think you definitely need to be more diversified than last cycle, because last cycle we didn't have DePin, we didn't have AI, we didn't have layer 2s, we didn't have modular, like we didn't even have a Bitcoin ecosystem. None of this stuff existed. So if you want to tap into some of these things, you have to obviously diversify a little bit, but at the same time you still want to have conviction and kind of go in hard on like your big bets. So that's pretty much the plan that I've got at the moment. Hopefully we can get past this $30,000 mark in the not so distant future. I think that would be a real key landmark there, because we're not so far from being a third of the way there, which I think would be fantastic. At the moment we're just over a quarter of the way there, so lots of work still to do. I think the bull market is got a long way to go still. I think, like I said, we want Bitcoin to be up here, way above this maroon line. And I think if that happens, hopefully all of these will 4x and we can complete the portfolio. Or we can complete the challenge, I should say. So yeah, that's all I wanted to cover today. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with plenty more videos in the near future.